stacking up, talking trash, better back it up. I'ma make my money while they laugh at us.
What is going on? You're tuning into Inventing Entrepreneurs, the show where we bring on emerging entrepreneurs to talk about them inventing their vision and success. That is a really hard intro to say. I'm joined by my co-host, John.
Nailed it, though, Brian.
I got it that time. Usually it's really hard. When it gets to vision, I usually mess it up. But.
Hey, we're good here. And ladies and gentlemen, we're here today with the founders and chief head honchos of RentMi, Keith and Jack. Give it up. Thanks for guys coming in the studio with us.
Thanks for having us, guys. Appreciate it. Guys, it's a blast to be here.
So... glad you didn't get too sketched out about walking into the studio.
Yeah.
The dungeon is nice, I must say. That's pretty cool.
We're working on it.
So tell us a little bit about the company, RentMi, kind of like how long you're doing it, what it is, stuff like that.
Yeah, so RentMi is it's a website we put together that basically brokers rentals for construction equipment. So, I'll give you a quick example. This guy has an excavator that he bought, but he doesn't get full utilization of it. He would put it on our site to rent it out. Another contractor in the area can rent it out and make some money off of it. Sort of like an Airbnb type model, but this is more geared towards construction equipment.
What we say to the contractors is, you have this equipment that you're spending all this money on, whether it be, installment loans, insurance, maintenance fees. What we say,
not cheap.
And they're not running 100%.
They're not running.
No, actually, we found out it's most of, when they buy a piece of equipment, it's used for a particular job, and then it sits. So, it's under 50% utilization. And if you could even bump it up to 65, 75%, we're talking some good cash for these guys.
Yeah, because my dad used to own, he still kind of owns it, but a general contracting company, and you can see, in construction there's phases. So you start from nothing, and you end up with a whole house.
Yep.
So different aspects of each job. If you're a general contractor, you're going to have different tools for different stuff. So if you're doing, he didn't do plumbing and electrical, but let's say you did everything. Some days you're going to do plumbing, some days you're going to do electrical. So some of that equipment will sit. That's low end stuff. You're talking heavy machinery.
Right. And also think about it too. Some guys are specialized. Some guys do concrete, some guys do landscaping, some guys do concrete and landscaping, but they're more concrete, right? So they don't have all the landscaping tools. So instead of going and buying stuff that you might only get 5, 6, 7 jobs a year off of, why not rent? Save yourself some money, in the short run, and basically
that's a good concept.
That's true. Yeah, right. I see the need for that. Absolutely.
Even with the 3D printers, I don't use them 100%. I use certain printers for certain types of jobs, and then
you guys are the Blockbuster. No, Netflix.
Right. Well, what we found too is it's got to be something where people can make actual income off of.
Right.
Like there's companies out there that I think it was Pure Renters or something along those lines, and they rent it out everyday items, hair dryers, and no one's going to rent.
That's right.
No one's going to rent something for $25 if they go out and buy it for $50.
Not to mention, what are they going to make off that item?
Right.
You know what I mean? So I think that kind of led to that company's demise. Whereas this is more, to get into the construction equipment. You're talking tens of thousands of dollars. So it's quite a bit more money.
Tens of thousands is
maybe
a low number.
You know what I mean?
So how did you guys find out about the need for this?
So our background, I guess I'll start, is, him and I, we both grew up blue collar,
Twins.
Twins, too. Believe it or not. He grew up here.
The beard fool.
You only look alike.
Fools everybody. It's just glued on. No. So we grew up, blue collar, working landscaping and construction and all that kind of stuff. A couple years back, I went and worked. I sold construction equipment for a local dealership. In just kind of evolving into, growing into it and actually asking the owners questions and
well, like you were saying, we'd go around to different shops, different yards, and you go out there and you could say, there's a piece of equipment valued at X amount of dollars sitting idle. There's another one. There's another one. There's
just opportunities.
And it's then the light bulbs start going off. It's we could seriously make these guys, a substantial amount of money by offering them a platform.
The biggest thing for us is changing that thought process in the contractor's mind, right? A contractor thinks
it's no longer just doing the job.
It's we've got a few guys on. We've got roughly right now, we've got around 25, 30 pieces of equipment. If I want to add up a value of that, we've almost got almost $1 million, maybe a little more of equipment on the site right now, which is cool for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the biggest things for us is taking that contractor, that guy that's always went out and planned out jobs and done jobs and thinking hey, what about that piece of equipment that's sitting in your yard? Let's make some money off of that.
And it also expands capabilities for other companies because if you think about it,
So I was thinking
like
the B2B side of it.
the reason I don't want to do a certain job is because I don't have the right equipment. But if I can rent it for that one job, still make a profit off the
Exactly.
job, why not do
And
it?
find a
And then
rent-
you don't have the liability.
Right, and find a rental that's cheaper, right?
Yeah.
Like think about
So
it. Like,
how do you compare to someone like Admar?
so the way we look at it too is Admar's main. I mean, they do sales
Right.
and they do rentals. That's how they make their money. That's how the company exists, right?
Right.
These companies don't need premium rental revenue because these companies the way that they make their money is through jobs. They make money off of jobs, and then if we just make some residual income off of that.
Right.
That's kind of where we come in. So these guys we find are listing their equipment anywhere from 15, 20, 25% cheaper than what you would find like an Admar or United Rental.
The way we gear ourselves is we love the Craigslist model, right? Where a user can go on there, search a piece of equipment out, find that piece of equipment, and that day have a rental secured.
Instant rentals is what we
And
do.
that's another
Instant
thing that we
rentals.
brand ourselves as. We have instant rentals. RentMe doesn't own the equipment.
Right, no,
we
they-
broke them, but we also have a library, full of equipment where
So your site is live right now, and you have active users.
Yeah, we do right now.
Do you have an app too, or just a
no
website?
You know what? Right now, it's just a website, and the reason being is apps are. You guys probably know it's.
That's what I started at. I started
really?
at as just a website.
Yeah.
I'm
Apps are
currently
pretty
getting the app
expensive, yeah.
developed now. But yeah, it's good. I think those websites, one, it's the internet. Like, you need a website before you have an
Yeah.
app. Like, you can't
Yeah,
be a full
definitely. You
company
have to
and get
have
the full
something.
exposure without
Yeah.
having
Yep.
both.
Right.
So, start with the website.
Website for us too is a good starting point. We,
Especially for I think the clientele, the
clientele,
the customers
yeah.
that you guys are pertaining to.
you know what we always said too is like our clientele, our base of customer. It's these guys aren't the first ones to use a Snapchat or an Instagram. Like these
Right.
guys, it takes, and that's like one of our challenges is to take like an industry that's typically like good old boy. That doesn't
Right.
use a lot of technology and like rethink it. You know what I
Right.
mean? Make these guys use, not make them, but like educate them on how we can
Right.
make them more money. For an example, you guys probably don't know, but a lot of equipment now has what's called automation on it.
Yeah.
It's basically you sell equipment, it's got GPS or whatever. It helps, be more accurate on job sites. 20 years ago,
Yep.
15 years ago, this was like 1 in 100 job sites.
I know.
Now you'll see it on 99% of job
Yeah.
sites because it makes
It makes it faster. So I used
Yeah,
to do
more-
parking lot painting,
Yeah.
like striping.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I used to do striping for.
Look at you.
Yeah, so
Man,
but-
what haven't you done?
no, so well, that was my college job, and
We were roommates and never saw the kid.
yeah,
No, yeah. Oh, you're
literally,
busy.
if you knew me, like when I was
Right.
going to school, like I was going to class
He had more money
covered
than
in
anyone. I was like,
ink.
Oh,
fuck,
yeah.
dude.
Like one of my professors goes, "I thought you were a bum," like because he found out like I was
Paint
'cause I
all
was
over him.
paint,
ripped
yellow
pants, yeah. So because the robe color is literally covered over me. So with that, a lot of times they would have GPS laid out lots.
Yep.
And I didn't use the GPS because I didn't trust other people's work. So I found a couple of jobs where they did all the curb work wrong because the GPS was off.
Huh.
Yeah,
Well,
the GPS is not 100% accurate. And a lot of people do it, use it as it like they don't double check their work, and it doesn't.
It can make you lazy. So it's the
Yeah.
same way like you go from here to like California and you try to like drive like if you just trust on the Garmin or whatever it is. I mean your iPhone now, but like you don't care. Get there, you get there. But like at the same time, like it makes
There could have been a better way.
It makes it a lot easier, but you should always double
But
check.
you should always double check. But at the same time, like I've talked to guys out there. This is back when I sold equipment that we'd sell equipment with automation on it. Reason being is like you tell a guy that does like site work and he's putting in a roadway for like a subdivision. And like you got to put a sub base down, you got to put all the stone down,
Yeah.
and like you got to grade it on point. And back in the day, you used to have grade 6 and all that stuff. Now automation, you can grade this thing out. Where like you might be using a half ton of less stone per X amount of mile, but at the end of the day, that all adds up.
That's
And
a
next
lot,
that
yeah.
pays for
Right.
automation. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Pays for the upgrade.
yeah.
Plus, there's also telematics, which tracks fuel consumption
Yeah.
at different RPMs. So, I mean, it's a good way to get a hold of your fleet. If you're larger, even if you're medium to large size, contractor, you can see, where your fleet is, how much money you're expending per hour.
But also, if your stuff gets stolen.
Well, and
See where it ends up.
My boss's dump truck got stolen. I never seen a dump truck
What?
get stolen. Yeah, the whole
Grand
dump
Theft
truck got
Auto
stolen.
shit.
That
Right.
They got away with it.
That happens very frequently.
happens
Yeah,
often.
Yeah.
they broke into the yard. They
What the hell
stole
you do with
the
the dump
dump
truck?
overnight.
They're worth
I don't
money?
know how they got.
Probably
Yeah,
part of
scrap.
There you go. Talk about entrepreneurship.
Yeah, right.
It's like a
Little
big truck
risque,
like
yeah.
that. How do you get away with stealing that? That's nuts. To
I
me.
know, right?
And my uncle, he works for a company. They had 2 side-by-sides walk off the job site. Just overnight.
But it's cool to see, like,
Sometimes you think it's an inside job too, right?
Well, yeah, of course it is. Like,
He did have a couple of side-by-sides in his barn.
you
but-
cut my hours last week, I'll take your side by side. It's all good.
Now we're even,
Yeah,
right?
right. But no, it's cool because the industry it's picking up. Like him and I were just on the other day. We were looking at, I forgot the name of the company, and I'll think of it, I'm sure, when I leave. But it's a company that basically tracks, like it's got like a GPS. I think this is how it works. It's got like GPS built into like the hard hat, and it like tracks employees' movements, and it like tells.
That'd be creepy.
I
I feel like that'd be good for like miners.
No.
You know,
It's good.
Oh, yeah.
Let me explain
Well-
why it works. It's good because it tells you like where you're wasted. Like if like your materials are 100 feet away
Yeah, so
from
you
the
have
job
to go
site,
to the materials, come
but
back.
it tells you where your legs are, and obviously like there's
efficiency, right?
it's
Yeah,
efficiency, and like when you talk about like companies where like the lowest, like some of these governmental projects, the lowest bidder wins. So like
Yeah.
you really kind of like
Time is money.
time is money. And
Right,
if
is
you
that
can
how
find-
you're getting your government contract?
Yeah, hopefully we get it. But we, I graduated with an industrial engineering degree, so
Yeah,
that was
so you
what it
know,
was
yeah.
all about.
All about
It was
efficiency.
about efficiency and eliminating, like, for instance, if you have an assembly line, like they had with the Ford Model T,
Yep.
you want to make sure you go from A, B, C, straight line. You're not going from A to Z all
Yeah,
over the place.
yeah. And think about it. I mean, if you can shave off a nickel here, a dime here,
It all adds up at the end of the year, and no one realizes that, but costs add up.
Oh, yeah.
Like if you're saving
Right.
a few dollars here and there, you may not think like, oh, it's only a few
Right.
bucks, but at the end of the year, it's like going to Dunkin' Donuts every day versus going to Starbucks every day. You're literally going to spend double the
Starbucks
amount.
is like once a week if you're lucky.
Yeah.
Is that $10 for a latte?
Spent
Like what?
$50 on Starbucks last week.
Yeah, I know.
God, I
it
everything
literally
in
costs
my
like
life.
we used to work. At
I used to work.
Starbucks.
I worked
Yeah.
at Starbucks all through college.
barista?
I've seen the same people every day, and every time I was like,
How do they
These people
afford
saving-
this?
Dude,
It's
parents.
they're probably
Thanks,
probably in the Range Rover. Just like, Clive.
Walk out of there, it's like $25. Like, all right, $25.
So I don't go
I got
there.
a coffee and
I got a coffee and a biscuit. Holy shit, $25.
I got to meet the CEO.
I was like, fuck yeah.
Awesome time. Like meeting this guy. At the time, Howard Schultz, the CEO of Starbucks, we got to meet him. He came to Buffalo.
No way. You
Yeah.
met Howard Schultz?
Yeah.
Who's the VP that the 43 North? There was
don't know.
Oh, there was a judge there the year.
Really?
Yeah. 2 years ago. He was a
ago.
VP or something.
of marketing. I thought it was
Marketing,
at 43
something,
for
No way. That's like
How was Howard? That was
cool,
like
man.
a meeting. of a
He's
lifetime.
cool. Yeah.
Well,
He's
he
like
took over that company. What when it was like
when it was going down. Like he
down.
wrote the book. It was crashing, and he flipped it all around, and really like. And it is what it is now.
You
because
gotta
of
like
him,
about
right?
that is they're shutting down Tijuana's and like I don't know about you guys drink any teas like
It's not
Oh, they
as
are?
profitable though.
yeah,
Why are they shutting them down?
not as
Not as profitable.
They're not profitable?
Yeah, not as much.
There was one in the Gallery Mall. I used to go there all the time. Grab a
Yeah.
grab a
Well,
tea.
the Gallery
Best
Mall
samples.
is.
They had the best samples. They had the best everything. But that was the problem though, is because me personally, like, I never bought the tea. I was really curious about it, but I never actually bought it. But I always tasted their free samples, and I could see how they.
Dude, I mean,
lost
it was
money
always
doing
the blueberries at the bottom that got me every time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm like
Yeah.
blueberries at the bottom.
that. So damn good.
They have some of them have some weird like gel thing. I don't know what they're
Yeah.
called. You know what I'm talking
Turn it
about?
off every time.
I think that's what you're talking about, the blueberries. Like just weird gel things, but
Never
they're
had.
not. They don't taste like anything, but they're good.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, this
No,
didn't
it's
work
just
out.
cool though. I mean, that's just a cool story of Starbucks goes for. I mean, and honestly,
Right.
without knowing too much, I mean, it'd be cool to have an
It's
opportunity.
true,
to meet.
and that kind of
Yeah,
shows that like there must have been one key failure that kind of like drove that success.
Right.
It's kind of turning that into you guys. What do you think are some maybe failures that you guys faced that are like learned a lot from, kind of turned the business around, or helped you project things?
So even before the bit, like just in. I mean, not in life. I'm not getting too deep, I guess.
No, get as deep as
You
you
guys
want.
got, like, tissues
Open
here?
game.
No.
I can get
I'm a
that.
sensitive. No, okay. We deal
We deal with failures basically on
Yeah,
every day.
I think that's part of an entrepreneur, right? Like,
every day.
You know?
Like it's like everyone thinks like it's every day is like a win. Like I wake up, I'll remind like we'll just shoot text like we just remind each other like dude, not every day is going to be a picnic, man. Like,
Sometimes
it's just like some days you feel like you just got
You guys pick each other up like that. Like
that's why
fucking teamwork
I give
right there.
people props that are like solo founders.
Yeah,
If there's
I say
solo
the same
founders
thing.
out there,
I wouldn't be able to
like-
do it without
You need a
Oscar,
partner,
the guy
man.
who
You
does
need
the
somebody to like lean on. Like
because like you need someone to pick your ass up.
Yeah.
Like,
It's nice to have one. Yeah, like not everyone's on a different day, right? On days where I'm like just like your back's up against the wall.
Yeah.
You got a bill due, tomorrow. And
Yeah.
this and that. It's nice to be able to turn to someone and be like, yeah, we got this, no problem.
Yeah.
We'll find a way.
put it on my card.
Yeah,
this
put it on
time.
my card.
Mine's maxed out. Just put it on mine.
Otherwise it's a lonely process. I mean,
It
me and
is,
Austin
man.
go through that all the time.
Right.
He helped me out with bills, I helped him out.
Yeah.
Because it's always that up and downs. Because at the end of the day, you're trying to build your company, and you're hoping that pays your bills on the
Right.
long run. So
Right.
you just got to get through that short term.
And it's cool to like share like successes. Like we did the Panache tournament, or not the tournament, the competition last year, and like we made it we made it right before the final round, right? So like you win 2 rounds before that, and like I remember like the first round we won, like back before your idea, like when you're young, the business ideas were like we're still young, but like then we were like in our infancy, you know what I mean? Like and you get like your first like success,
Small little bit.
it's like I remember we were out. I'm like, let's go to
You had someone to
shops.
celebrate with,
Yeah,
too.
like, you know what I mean? Like, all right, let's
I
go.
couldn't
What's the
imagine.
first thing you did with your winnings? Sorry.
We didn't win any money.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I wish we did.
No, but actually, what we did though was it was.
But we
nice.
got networking.
You won knowledge
we got
and
networking,
networking.
though. And that's
networking.
more important.
More than money. Hell yeah, that's going to go
more
way
important.
farther.
Like we got to meet John Spitz from Z80 Labs, and like Z80 Labs is great. John Spitz is great. Obviously, ultimately, like, we were still too early for Z80 when we went and pitched them.
But even through that, we might have a lot of
like we met
contacts.
the dudes from ACV. Dan Maggs. It's been a cool ride, and like to be in Buffalo, to be around like the startup community,
Right.
It's just been really cool
That's why
to
I
see.
came
Like,
back.
yeah,
To be around
and it's
the
here.
community.
But if you look at it though, like
It's only been around
if you're not aware of the startup community, you might look at it and like think of it as like this huge community, but it's really not.
Everyone knows.
I keep hearing the same names
Once you-
over
yeah,
and over
yeah,
and
yeah.
over again.
Top guys.
Yeah.
It's a small
Everyone,
community.
the network
And a lot
is
of people know each other.
everyone knows each other, and it's cool. Like we've been down to when we were down to 43 North
Yeah.
and stuff like that. Like in
That's how we met.
That's how we met. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And like it's cool walking in there, and like this is the first time I met you.
Yeah.
But like everyone in there, like high fives, how you doing? Like, good to
Yeah,
see
they
you
all
guys.
know each other. I'm like, how do I get in on this? I
Right,
want
we're
to
trying to get part of this club.
How much? What does it cost to get in here? Like,
Yes.
like it was
One
cool.
good idea and some blood, sweat, and
yeah,
tears.
that's it, man.
We looked into 43 North, Oscar and I, and I think it was like $300 a person. I don't know if that's right, but I
43
remember
North-
that number.
Well, 43 North, they're like first year, like they were accepting anybody, like any
yeah,
other
that's the time
like
to get
starting
in.
up company.
Yeah,
like,
they wanna
43
get
North
the
really at the end of the day
numbers up,
is a company. You know what I
Right.
mean? And like their first year, they were just taking anybody. So, but now like they're refining it. You know what I mean? Like they
Which is
want,
good.
yeah, which is good. I mean, the quality's a lot
Quality's
better.
better.
But like us even like we're still too new for that.
Yeah.
We applied last year, but obviously
How long have you
You
guys
didn't get
been at this?
So we've been at it since 2000. So early last year.
It's roughly a year.
But we
and a half,
haven't
so-
started selling
Okay.
like
So we're at
we
the
don't
same point
we don't do the
then, yeah.
technology side. So it took us a good almost year, and we just started officially selling the site. Going out and reaching people like in December.
Right.
You know what I mean? So like we're only a couple months.
We're creating it. It's not just a simple, throw a couple T-shirts on there and sell. You know, what I mean, it's
what I see?
pretty
And that's like that's an industry where you
webpage.
guys actually need to be out there, and it's good that you guys both have the background
Yeah.
covering that because
Well,
you need to relate with these guys.
a lot of the customers we know through just doing jobs. and working
Exactly.
with these people.
Right.
Like,
That's how it starts.
Yeah.
I see 2 big issues with this type of business, and I'd love to get your thoughts on it. First is insurance.
working on
What-
that right now.
I remember you talked
But
about
it's
it.
not impossible.
It's not impossible. You
Insurance
have to
on
work with
what though,
someone
isn't it?
local, right? And
So
it's probably a
we're-
lot.
Maybe rentals, it's on them.
Well, we want to work out a short-term
wanted,
bridge policy.
almost like
Okay.
let's think
That
like think of like
actually
Adds liability
Yes.
to it, and
Yep.
that's the
and
trust
the
of
damage equipment is the
site.
easy part. It's the liability. Which
That
is
was
the
my
hard
second
part.
question: is what if someone damages someone else's equipment?
Well, you
Yeah.
can put a price on a piece of equipment.
Yeah.
So
Like, what's
is that on you, on the person that damaged it,
person.
or
It's on the
Hard.
person that damages. Right
Okay.
now, we're still. I mean, I don't want to. It's not like I don't want to speak about it, but like it's nothing set in stone. So I can be
Right.
telling you something and it can
Yeah.
be totally different
Yeah, no.
6 months from now. You
Right.
guys know how it is.
Yeah.
But right now,
Oh, yeah.
right now, it's not impossible. Like, there's a competitor up in Ontario that that does similar stuff to what we do, and they have an insurance plan. So it's doable. It's just a matter of what it's going to cost to implement this plan.
Right.
Is it cost right now something that we can take on? We're fully confident that we can get an insurance plan. So
Right.
I mean, right now,
Especially if it's going to lead to the trust and the sales. It's gonna
Probably have to work
That's the
with
biggest
someone
thing.
local and not someone
yeah.
too big.
Like
right?
we reached out, we emailed Lloyd's of London and just going for it. Like they do Airbnbs.
Yeah.
But we end
The
up
general.
we end up finding a local company that we're working
Yeah,
with.
They
we
probably
found-
get so much business just because they're affiliated with Airbnb.
Oh,
Think
yeah.
about how many people push
They-
them every day.
I think
probably.
they've been around since like 1800s.
Lloyd's of London, there was they started after the London fire. That's Lloyd's of London. Yeah.
I'm sure they invented insurance.
Yeah.
They did.
They did.
That's a good one.
They did. But
That's the Twilight thing.
they didn't
right there. I
like-
see
yeah,
that happen.
they did.
All right.
They
But-
weren't interested, or
Lloyd's of London, no. We I emailed probably some guy like down here on the totem pole. Like, I got to get to this guy, and I don't know how to get to that guy. Like if I did, maybe I don't know, but we'd have to have some good. Like if we had some traction, what I
yeah,
mean?
if you have like a ton of
Users to show
users,
them.
Oh, dude,
yeah.
money talks.
Well, of
If
course
we had
I
a
know.
shit ton of users, I guarantee you I'd get a phone call back.
Users talk. That's,
Users
right.
talk. Yeah.
We've got a local company that works.
No, we do,
with,
and I
they're
mean
doing a
I
great
don't.
job.
I would tell. I don't know if they. I don't know if I should say their name, but they do well for us. I mean, they're
Yeah,
working
like
their
you
ass
like
off
kind
for
of
us.
like partners, like you deal with people.
Yeah,
like
it's a brokerage firm that we use. That's a local brokerage firm, and right now, like they found a couple people that'd be interested. They're just like, trying to work out the details of like how exactly this would be on. Like I said, the damage equipment's easy because you break something that's valued at $50,000. Okay, max, cost is $50,000. But like if a guy, gets hurts his arm or breaks his arm or everybody dies, anything's crazy. We don't obviously.
it's construction. Construction's really dangerous.
It is,
Exactly,
it is,
right.
but
And
the
I feel like it would
equipment
scare a lot
has
of
evolved
insurance.
over the years to be like I don't
Really
want to say
safe.
dummy proof, but it's very safe equipment.
And that's
and
another
we
thing,
and we
too.
try to rent out some of the newest and safest
Well,
equipment.
not even that. On our site though.
It has
make
to be
sure
safe.
If if you're going to run out, I'm not everyone knows exactly what we're talking about. If an excavator, right? If you're going to run out a mini excavator, you need to certify that you're at least properly trained on this piece of
Competent enough to
equipment.
drive.
You know how
Right,
to
you
run this
have
piece
to
of
be.
equipment. You
So
know,
make them like sign something.
like our famous,
we have terms and conditions.
Yeah.
our famous line is, it's not going to be
soft, man.
it's not going to be an 18-year-old kid building a dirt bike ramp in his backyard.
Right.
You know, it's-
I would have loved you guys back then.
That'd have been, yeah, right. That'd have been you.
That would have been me.
Is that like a 345, like a 90,000 pound excavator? What is he doing?
I'll actually be.
Governor's
I'll be
door,
using your
bro.
website probably in another couple months because I need to redo my front lawn. I want to rent a mini Bobcat.
What's cool
so-
too is
We have one on actually.
we do. I just
Awesome.
put it up.
How much
Today.
does it go for a day?
Well, what size? I mean, 220. I guess.
Right. So I'm real
So
interested.
that's comparable because usually they're about $300 to rent for a day.
Oh, okay.
So that's
Like the
definitely
business
We want to be
conceivable.
cheaper.
processes.
We want to be like 50. We want to be a little. Our goals. Our aim is to be a little cheaper.
Yeah, it's just hard starting up to do that and still be able to function
Right.
because you got to grow at the end of the day.
Well,
so you're not.
But here's
making money
but here's
on
our
the road.
sell to these guys, right? This isn't your primary source of income, right? So you can afford to be a little bit cheaper than the traditional.
Yeah.
Not to mention also you don't have all the overhead that's associated with some of these rental companies. So,
Yeah.
that's
I mean, they do it.
Each piece of equipment is worth like a certain dollar per hour. So you got to figure what that is.
and we
which you
know
that already,
we know.
obviously.
So like,
Yeah.
and these guys know. All guys and girls, I should say. But these people, everyone knows. I mean, if you own a piece of equipment, it's like owning a car. Like right now what your car is worth. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe not to rent, but like everyone knows what a dollar amount per hour or day their stuff is. I mean, everyone's thought about it. They just up until now, there's just no company that puts it together. If you go on Craigslist right now, you'll find 50 to 100 listings of guys, renting stuff out or, dump trailers, example, of stuff like that. But there's no site.
There's no structure to it. And
no structure.
For instance, if you look at Uber, they do like kind of a similar thing. Like your car, you're driving it like a taxi.
Right.
Yep.
You're still putting wear and
You have to
tear on
assign
it,
something.
but you're getting that value back and
the
getting
cool thing
paid.
about those companies is they're blazing the legal path.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
sometimes
so they
it's
make it a
better-
little bit easier. They're the
some-
icebreakers.
Sometimes it's better to be, a little behind.
Right.
Maybe
Coming
I shouldn't
first, you
say
get the
behind,
name and
like,
glory, but
just-
coming behind, it's a little easier.
Yeah,
you know?
just catching the draft.
So-
Exactly. You still make some money on
Ready
that.
to go around,
Are you guys? So all of you guys, are you the only two in your family? Or-
No, we've got a younger brother, Ray.
So you broke the
Ray
path
Ray.
for him. I
Oh,
guarantee
dude.
life was a lot easier for him. Like me,
He's got a cakewalk. Let me tell
my
you.
sister didn't break the path to me. So like for me, I had to break the path. My brother had an easier time. For me, I'm him like, "Mom, I want to do this right now," but your sister didn't do it till she was this age.
We've had police cars show up at family dinners. You know, like, maybe that's for the next podcast. But let's put it this way: we broke the parents in pretty well.
Ray couldn't do no wrong.
Yeah. Ray was the angel after we finished up, man.
So he looks like the golden child.
Oh, man.
Your mom's probably so relieved.
Other families, he's probably like the devil child, but like, our family's like, he's not that bad, man.
not that bad.
He's not as bad.
The state trooper, like, I remember the one time we were sitting at dinner, like, what's the headlights on the driveway? And like, also my mom's like, it's fucking cops. I'm like,
What'd you guys do that time?
oh, we were at a house party. Yeah. We'll leave it there.
That's
We were
another
young.
conversation.
We were real young.
Yeah, that's what I say whenever I talk about some of the bad stuff I did. I'm like, I was really young at that time.
Yeah.
Geez, how
You know what I call those are bonfire stories.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, it's a
A
bonfire.
little bit of bourbon and we'll talk about it.
So I want to know kind of like what's your business structure? Do people get to set their own prices, and you guys have a fee that's associated with it? How does that whole thing work?
We take there's a fee, but basically what we do is we have suggested pricing.
Right. Okay.
Right. So like guys just can't come. I mean, it would obviously naturally get filtered anyways because no one's gonna spend more than market value of a rental.
Right.
But we have suggested pricing.
Right.
And then we take a commission off each rental.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
And like we don't want to. We could always. It's their equipment, right? So like we're never going to be like, all right, you got to list it for that.
Right.
You know what
That's
I
why
mean?
it's suggested.
It's suggested, yeah. But we take our percentages are some of the lowest in the industry, and we're new. You know what I mean? Like, so that's kind of how.
So you want to start pretty low,
Yeah,
and that's a very common strategy. That works for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Obviously, like our product right now is it's free. It's
right now,
as free as it can be, but then eventually, once you get traction and stuff, it's like there's a time where
you have to.
costs.
Right now, like our main thing is users. Like we value users and members over dollars.
Absolutely,
right.
100%.
And once people
You can't get dollars without the users.
Yeah, exactly.
And like what I was going to say, once people actually understand, the value that we can provide towards them, they'll say, hey,
it's residual income. Like you can be using your stuff like
They're probably
6 days a week, but that 1 day a week, somebody wants to use it for a day. That's an extra couple.
You know what though? The one thing I
$1,000,
can see why they'd be concerned would be if they have an important job coming up, and if that equipment gets damaged before it breaks down. That would
we've discussed that.
Then you just tell the other owner to rent another equipment off your site.
No, we've discussed that. We have discussed that though. Like, what happens if like someone rents a piece of equipment and the next, like, oh shit, it rained out that day. I need it tomorrow.
Right.
So
which is a very contractor thing.
One of the ideas that
we're working on a program where that allows RentMi will find them another. We're never going to let any one of our users off dry.
Right.
Like,
and it'll be easier as you expand to have
the bigger the database.
But one of the ideas would be we have a library of equipment that's very expansive, right? Mm. So why can't we just pull a piece of equipment to cover that rental until the time when it gets repaired?
Right. What about I want to go more in detail. I'm going to write a few questions down after this so I remember. But the first thing I would say would be, how is the growth been? Like, so when you're going from where you're in Buffalo only, how are you going to expand out?
Scalability.
What's your plan to scale it?
So scalability right now,
it's probably hard.
We've just focused on Buffalo. So like we've got like a
great place to start, man.
Like we're like trying to be like, all right, let's get Buffalo under
exactly.
But like
that's the strategy I've been trying to give advice to everyone.
Yeah,
start where you're local.
Start in like there's the old quote. I can't even tell you who said it, but it was like, I'd rather have 100 loyal diehard customers than like 1,000 people that are just like, kind of like it. You know what I mean? Right. So like, that's our goal right now is to get guys and girls in Buffalo signed up and have them like be like, this is it's like when they're
expand out naturally.
Right. When they're at the bar, when they're getting coffee, when they're seeing each other, hey, why don't you check out this? Like I made $5,000 off these guys last week.
Look how ACV Auction's doing as well. It's a similar type program. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Where these guys are setting up satellite locations, smaller office spots. You hire a couple salespeople, and that's how you spread it.
Honestly, if you have a company that's and this might sound like like we're dreaming a little bit, but if you have a company that's rock solid from the inside out, like you shouldn't have to hire a sales manager. You know what I mean? Like the company should be selling itself. You have to hire people that can make
good enough. Absolutely,
right. And like that might sound dreamy. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, like like
bust that ass together. Now.
Yeah, you do. But like at the same time, if the company sells itself, you've done a good job from the inside out, making sure that it's it's a company that people that have value in it.
When you guys are done, I'll fill you back up.
Cool. Appreciate
I just stop for a minute if you're not watching the video.
Now
I just stop for a minute to fill up the beers.
We have a table service.
I'll be your server. I'm your host. I'm your server. I take tips.
There'll be a checks in here. 20% gratuity.
Yeah, we don't get sponsored from any beer companies. Maybe we can get like a local.
That's why we don't
beer.
have bottles, because we don't have sponsors.
Yeah, we get a local brewery.
Yeah, we
to
can't.
sponsor
We can't give them that free advertising. Get out of here. Exactly.
Get out of here. Well, I don't want to get sued either.
Yeah, right.
Right. Yeah,
I think that's the biggest.
Yeah.
These guys.
You
are
represented our brand wrong. It's like you're an alcohol company.
Your brand is wrong. I think we represent the brand right.
Yeah.
So cool. So what do you guys think that like, some things that you maybe have directly done that have led to like positive success for the company?
I just think our just being in the industry, being in the field, knowing the contacts, knowing how to build this. Like we don't know how to technically build a site up. We know how the site should look and feel.
You know what
right?
I think it's very
like
important
like to your user. You're
Right.
really in touch with your customer.
Like we don't need a site that's like got all the the cute bells and whistles. Right.
Like,
these guys are like if there are a lot of these people on Craigslist, right? You guys know what Craigslist looks like.
Yeah.
Looks like a 1999 web page.
It'll forever be.
it's still
forever.
free. No advertising is crazy. How
They do charge
That guy
now.
Craig is a
$5
fucking hell of a guy.
Dude, 800.
They monetize it?
800
Really?
million. Wow. They got some
not
money.
everything. It's for certain ads in certain areas.
It's certain ads in certain areas. So I don't know if that's like legality or whatever it may be, but just knowing like what to feel like different features.
To build off that too, it's the lingo, right?
Yeah, it
There's
is.
a lot of scammers. Like whenever I post something on Craigslist, I get about 40 or 50 text messages saying,
Scammers is
you
a lot.
have a message from this, you have a Craigslist message, or I want you to email my mom.
I've always said Craigslist is just unregulated, unpoliced. It's like the Wild Wild West.
It really is.
I remember I tried to buy a canoe off of Craigslist. Dude, I tried, because we used to do the regatta down, it's another topic, but the regatta's a good time down in Great Valley. Let me tell you, that's one of those bonfire topics. But
bonfire topic.
Meant to do live from the bonfire.
dude, hey,
bonfire topics. I like that.
It is in the middle of nowhere. It's like a little canoe race down 5 beer stops. It's a good time. Anyways, but I remember driving down the city, and I live out in the suburb out in Clarence, and like I drive to the city. I get down there. I set up this time to meet this guy. Carlos, whatever his name was. I don't know. It wasn't pretty. Anyways, I call the guy up. No answer. And he's like, oh. And he finally answers. He's like, "Oh, I just sold it." I'm like, "He's like, that wasn't you." I'm like, "No, you know my name." Like, obviously that wasn't
God
me.
damn it, Carlos!
I was like, all right,
I'm like, whatever. I'm like, but I wish like there was a way to be like review that. Like, this guy sucks. You know what I mean? Like,
They don't buy from him.
There was
an
one
asshole.
time I had to tow my boat. I didn't have a truck at the time. I don't have a truck now, but I had to get my boat into the water. I had a slip, but I had to get the boat to the water so I get to the slip. So I went on Craigslist. I found this guy that just got back from Alabama. He bought a truck for like $500, and he charged me $40 to trailer my boat from my house to my water. It's like only Craigslist could you find someone to trailer a boat to the water.
You've got everything from like personal ads to like construction, casual encounters. Like,
you're talking about that for services offered.
Honestly, have you ever been on the casual account? It's like ridiculous. But that's Craigslist. It's like
it's probably mostly like prostitutes.
That's kind of why, like, what we also have too is we have
Shred Reagan talk about
we
it.
have reviews and ratings on our
we do.
platform,
Right.
So like that way it's policed. You at least know what you're getting into before you go out there.
And that's the
ratings
trust. It's like I feel like when you have a company where it's like you guys rely on other people to supply the products for your users.
Our job isn't to supply, but our job is to make sure that it's accurate. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that's
exactly.
Because like
and make sure it's accurate and people
accurate,
believe it and
Like
like,
you're
okay, great.
like right now we don't have that brand recognition. Like if you buy like I don't know, like an iPhone, you feel comfortable, right? Like RentMi doesn't have a brand recognition right now. So like our job is to build like where it's like RentMi and people automatically think like reliable rentals. You know what I mean?
And that's why Craigslist is so cheap on some
Maybe
stuff
that's
because
the tagline,
it's
reliable rentals.
it's
pretty good.
Craigslist is unreliable, so you never know what you're gonna get. So you kind of get things cheaper.
It's so unreliable.
It's crazy what you can get on
It's
there.
such a scam, but like how that company went from and they still only have like 200 people working for them.
Yeah, they don't have very many employees in there.
Like they make like hundreds of millions of dollars a year in revenue.
Nobody calls customer service on Craigslist.
No one calls. Yeah,
You just expect it to be
a shit show.
right?
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
You don't need customer service from people.
And no matter what,
It's more for the story at that point.
Hey, I met this dude. Like took me in this back alley, he pulled a knife on me.
I used to buy a lot of stuff on Craigslist, and I can tell you some of the deals are sketchy.
Did we get this table off Craigslist?
I got this table off Craigslist.
Really?
Yeah, Hey,
Thanks,
Craigslist.
this is a
Pretty nice
Craigslist
for a
table.
Craigslist
Yes,
find.
Craigslist
special right here.
table. No, actually, no. I lied. I'm sorry. This was this was Facebook Marketplace. This table. I couldn't find a Craigslist table, so I settled for
Fucking
Facebook
Fist is a
Marketplace.
Facebook product. Yeah, it looks like it's like a just clean cut. You know, but
Yeah,
never
this is more of a Facebook
Never had any like beer spilled on it before. You know what I
I
mean?
showed
Like,
back up with no stab wounds.
Yeah.
Like Facebook
Yeah.
Marketplace.
Yeah.
The good people on there.
So how about the transfer of like equipment? So let's say I'm right now. I want to buy I want to get a what do I say? A Bobcat to my house, right? So will that company drop it off? Will you drop it off? What's the transfer key so I pick it up?
Yeah, right now in the checkout. Well, when you list a piece of equipment, there's a tag or a button that says you know, is this equipment available for transportation? You click yes or no. If you click yes, a little drop down menu, and it says you know, how much is this charge for delivery?
So delivery fees.
So
It's
yeah,
usually a flat rate fee.
so like right now, like a standard, like most guys, what they're doing now is like it's from 0 to 20.
Thank you, sir.
From 0 to 20 miles, which is like a pretty good size of like Erie. That's like Erie,
Yeah, right.
I mean, I don't really know. It's got to be like Erie County,
It's all
right?
Erie County.
I think it's like 26 miles from Clarence. I don't know, whatever. From like like from 0 to 20 miles, it's like 150 round trip, and that's depending on the size of piece of equipment, right? Like if it's a big piece of equipment, it's obviously more. If it's smaller, it's less.
Oh yeah.
But and then on the flip side, we do have a messaging feature too. Yeah, please. Yeah, that's what I had. Yeah, whatever. It's fine.
Savage.
Oh, it's fine. Just
Construction industry.
college days, right? No, you know, it's
Podcast. We've drank more than one beer on the podcast.
is this really? It's a new podcast.
Leave it up to the construction.
Yeah, I know, right?
Drink all the
Yeah, usually
these
we have
guys
one
are animals.
Now we're like, we got to get a tap in the middle of the table so we can just fill up.
Yeah. Next time we come back, maybe it'll be
Next time.
No,
We have
but
some equipment for that too.
Yeah, do you? We need a hole saw. We need.
but
The messaging.
we do have a messaging feature too. So we wanted to promote communication within the site, right?
Right.
So like the messaging feature is basically just like, you know, you click on message, you type to the guy like, hey, can I pick this up, or what time can I pick this up, or you know, whatever, yada yada yada, whatever you want to say. That's you know, that kind of helps the rental kind of proceed more smoothly. Transportation's worked out between the renter and rentee. If it's available for transportation, and you click and you agree to the terms for transportation, which
There's probably an extra charge for transportation.
oh yeah,
honestly.
yeah, and a lot of guys are, and we've had guys reach out to us too that just want to do transportation. Period.
I was gonna say
We've had a guy with a low boy, well, two guys.
Oh, that want to be like
Just-
kind of like the
just
guy
like
on Craigslist for $40
Like, I'm
bucks.
just
They'll
gonna,
trail
I'm gonna
your.
be the guy that pulls this everywhere.
There's a big
It's not a bad idea though, having like a designated.
There's a big market.
It's
There's
like
a big
the
market
Uber
for
Eats
equipment.
thing. You have, or skip the dishes. You have
Yeah.
guys that
I needed
will
a
be the
boom
delivery
lift
guy.
up in Lockport. I used to run a painting company, and I needed a boom lift in Lockport, and I had a fucking Toyota. And I was like, "There's no way I'm getting
Car
this
or
here.
truck?
Car.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Good luck.
0%
Good
chance
luck.
of that shit, but it's so expensive to get that up there.
Yeah.
But
Think about it like this, though. I mean, you also have, you know, if I'm a business, right? Even if you have some slow time and you have to keep guys busy, right? You can say you can come onto our site just to transport equipment, and you can keep someone busy for 8 hours a day or whatever it's going to be, or 40 hours a week, and just
driving around transferring equipment.
And there's a big, like I said, there's a big market for that. And there's actually companies out there that do that. Like there's, you know, out of all the construction companies in Buffalo, there's only probably a handful of low boys. And do you guys know what low? Well, anyways, they're the trailers that are real low to the ground.
Yeah, the ones. Okay,
you fit really big equipment on.
They fit like the I know.
Yeah,
exactly
big
what you're
stuff
talking about.
on. Yeah. So there's only a couple of companies that have that, and they right now you know, everyone's talks to everyone. They all transport their stuff with. But I mean, like we'd like to get a couple of guys signed on that'd be like exclusive transport.
that's what I'm saying. Like that's what like it's a good B2B idea. You know, it's like you're primarily customer base, but like the customer knowing that, like, say, I don't know, whoever trusted company that has the low boy is supplying your transportation. Like that adds to, you know, the user experience and everything. It's just trusted.
Equipment's going to get there.
Like I always
Exactly,
said,
we know
like I said before, like we want to be known as the people that are reliable rentals, and like rentals that, you know, like it's big box stores, you know, the United Rentals, like these guys have had, you know, years of brand building and stuff like that. In my opinion, that they've gotten away with some pretty good pricing on some of the rentals too, which help them build their big stores and help them do the advertising and all that good stuff.
And now it's hard. It's hard to charge too much because there's so much competition in everything, and you can just look it up online.
But they still get it. I mean, because we've
think about it too, and a lot of those guys, like, you know, United Rentals, they get a lot of larger companies. So larger companies will come in there. They've already developed that relationship, and that's why they use them. It's not always about pricing. It's
just
about
already
convenience
established.
too. Because I know when I was in the striping company, we would rent stuff from Admar that we would use maybe once or twice a year. And it's just because we knew we had an account with them. I could just walk in. I wouldn't have to have a credit card.
That's it.
I would just say, bill my boss.
And that's our challenge.
Right.
That's our challenge to get in there and to break that routine, right?
Disrupt the industry. That's what you got to do. Disrupt it.
And that's what we're here for, right? And
exactly.
That's what Airbnb did. That's what Uber did. That's what all these companies do. I mean, it's cool. I'm a big fan of Richard Branson and a lot of his companies and a lot of his stuff. And I've read his books before, and the way he does business is really interesting. He picks, companies that you think are perfect, right? Maybe not perfect, but they're good, like trains or air travel. Yeah. And he takes them and he says, "Oh, well, what if we did this, or what if we did that?" And granted, he's got his wins, he's got his failures, but he just makes these companies that much better. Makes people think a little bit differently too. And makes them different.
I think a lot of people look at these big companies and they say they're impenetrable walls, right? These guys, they've got it. They have to get it, right? Yeah. But guys like that, they look at it and they say, "We can do this better here."
How can we get around them?
Yeah, they pick them apart and they say, "We can do this better here. We can do it better."
I don't think there's any company there's some big corporations out there. Don't get me wrong, but I don't think there's any company out there, any one company that's not beatable. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying RentMi. You know what I mean? Competition wise or whatever. I don't think
it's the human instinct to kind of see what there is and say, okay, how can I do this better?
Right.
And it'll always be a fact.
There's ways to just make it happen. Whatever it may take. Granted, luck plays a big role, but the harder you work,
I always say this: if it was easy, and then everyone would do it. And you wouldn't even have a business.
It's not easy.
It wouldn't even be fun.
So we always talk about too, the law of attraction, right?
Yeah.
What you seek is seeking you, right?
I'm a true believer in that.
Absolutely.
Dude,
all them Abraham Hicks videos
on
YouTube.
Dude, I honestly, I think if you really envision something, you envision it very well, very vividly, and you keep thinking on it, and what you think is what you think
is manifested random shit all the time. Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you're thinking situations,
because that's what you think about. Exactly. So if you're thinking that you're gonna own a mom and pop shop, you're gonna own a mom and pop shop. If you're thinking you're gonna own the next Amazon, and that's your mindset, every decision you make is gonna be about that. That's what I have to do.
I'm glad you said that, because we always said if we're gonna start a company, we're going to start a company that goes big. We're never going to start a company. What's the point of
I did the mom and pop thing.
It's so noble to be it's our third generation hardware store. I get it. That's cool. It's noble to pass it down to your kids and their kids and their kids. But screw that.
We've talked about it on a few podcasts. It's the mindset of it's fine. If that's what you want to do and you want to be successful at that local level, awesome, fucking crush it.
Yeah.
But I think I can speak for all of us here. We're trying to go more global.
Right. And I don't think, and it's not even just about the bigger you are, the more money there. It's not. It's don't get me wrong. That's always a factor. But the big thing is dude. How cool to be the story? When you're on your deathbeth, 85 years old or whatever. You're dude, we had a fucking run.
That was a run.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the only thing you said about everything that happened in your life. You're it was a fucking run.
That was a fucking run. I don't want to just be I raised 3 kids, had a white picket fence. You know what I mean? I want to be dude, we did fucking everything. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
We just went for it, swung. You know what I mean?
I don't think I talked about this on the podcast ever, but when I first started Smart Print, we had a brick and mortar store, and that failed. It didn't really fail necessarily, but it was a mom and pop shop at the end of the day.
Right.
So we were thinking that we'd be able to scale that. Found out the business model we had wasn't scalable because it was all on
3D printing.
No, it's not that. We were limited by me because I was the one that did the design and the 3D printing.
Right.
And when I tried hiring someone to do the 3D printing and take over that, I found that we were losing money with 3D printing because it takes a long time to learn it. So by the time someone would learn it, then it would, because there's breakdowns, you have to figure out the settings, how to make it work for each part. You have to know which plastic you're getting and what plastic works at different settings and different build stuff.
Oh yeah.
Without going into too specific, but by the time someone was trained, they were probably looking for another job to move up in life.
Right.
And that's a problem.
Super expensive.
It takes 6 months to train someone. By the time they get trained, they probably want to leave to get a better job because
do their own
you can't pay someone engiring pay to do a 3D printing thing.
Right.
But usually you attract
that's a hard part too. Is attracting. We had one of our first partners, really good dude. But and he did all our tech stuff, right?
Yeah.
And we found him he was at UB. We found him for cheap. We offered, and really great, and I'd love to work with him again, obviously, but he's got that entrepreneurial spirit, and you can't hold it down.
It is a good and a bad thing.
It is a great thing.
It is a double-edged sword.
Because I would get
You have to have him on your team. That's the thing. You have to have him on your team.
It's hard to harness it, but I would get emails from him at 3 a.m. like, oh, what about this feature? What about that feature? And
that's like a good and a bad sign.
I know, but as a founder, dude, I woke up the next morning whenever I got the email, I'm like,
we're doing it.
He gets it. You know what I mean? Like he's thinking about it.
That's someone you partner up with.
Oh, we did. We partnered with him.
When you get bit by that bug, you get bit by that entrepreneurial spirit. I mean,
that's a bad thing because you'll never be happy in life. No, seriously, you'll never be happy in life.
Complacency is what it is, and I've had this discussion a lot. Like, there's people, and I wish I had the complacency bug. You know what I mean? Like,
no, me
just go to work.
I can't.
9 to 5,
taking a good.
But I'm at work sometimes, or because I still work, obviously. Because
we're all still working.
Got to pay the bill somehow, right?
If you have a startup and you're not working somewhere else, I want to meet you and know how you did it. Like, how did you do it?
I'm jealous.
Mom and Dad's money.
Right. Trust fund, baby.
Yeah.
But oh shit, I forgot what I was
our biggest thing is the what if. Right?
Yeah.
Like him, we always talk when we get older in life, right?
Yeah.
You sit down and you're having a drink and man, we did this RentMi thing, but we didn't take that one meeting. What if that
we didn't do that one podcast? We didn't do that one podcast.
What if we did that? What if we didn't do that?
Exactly.
Always. What if we did that?
And that's the thing that keeps, honestly, that's the thing that keeps you going. You're on that next turn.
Yeah.
You can get your head beat, and we've had that before.
And do it for the story, too.
Yeah,
do it for the fucking story.
People love
the Panache. Did you get anything out of it, right away? No, but long term you did. You learned a lot.
Dude, we learned so much. We got Panache isn't a place to go, and don't get me wrong, $25,000 that's a good.
I would never go in there with the expectation to win. I would go in there with the expectation to network and get my name out there.
When you get in there and you for the first time ever sit down and you pitch in front of 4 entrepreneurs, advisors, guys and girls that have been there and that have reached some sort of level of success. You get you're not even you get a little nervous, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But you work through it, and finally by your 3rd or 4th pitch, it's starting to kind of move a little smoother.
Right. Not even that, but it's when you talk the idea to your family, it's that's great, that's a great idea.
Yeah, you need some
all the
amazing.
support from everybody.
But when you talk to your mom's good job, honey.
When you talk to the investors, they're so what happens when this happens?
Right.
So what happens when that happens?
You need to have.
And then you're
you need to account for all the assumptions.
Yeah.
That's something that Elijah actually talked about 2 episodes ago. Was he mentioned it's looking at your business and finding every single what if and assumption around your business
and figuring out a way around it.
You know what it is? It's
never
trying to stay ahead of that.
Never.
What if, you know what I mean? You'll never know. I love the quote. When you start a business, you start with an idea, but it's not a full idea. It's constant.
That grows.
I love when everyone's oh, what's your business plan? You have a business plan? I'm fuck no. It changes. It changes every day.
I had one from a month ago, but it's changed since then.
How many pitch decks we put together and we had to change because it's well, fuck, we're not doing that anymore. You know what I mean?
Because you find out what your user uses and what they want, and you always are tailoring it to them.
And it's funny, oh, what's your financials? And it's just a complete throw the fucking dart at the fucking wall.
Yeah, exactly.
$50,000 first ball. You know what I mean? You can anticipate and do all this stuff, but until you get out there and just say screw it, we're going for it.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing to get over, and I feel a lot of people struggle with is just getting over that thing.
A lot of people get to the starting line and they never go.
They never stop.
Yeah, they never go.
What these investors want to see though in your financial plan is not the the specific number. It's just how are you going to achieve what you're saying that you're going to achieve, right? So for our rentals, I don't want to get into specifics, but for our rentals, how are you going to achieve X amount of dollars and X in per rental? And that's basically what we break down to them. This is what we're going to do. Are our specifics dead on? No, and no one expects them dead on.
Never going to be.
How are we going to get to our first $100, our first $1 million, whatever it is, right? That's how we're going to execute it, and that's our plan.
Yeah,
we feel very confident. Once we start taking on customers and start generating income, maybe our first couple months will be in the negative, but we feel
more than the first couple months.
We feel pretty comfortable that the way our business model is, if we don't put ridiculous money into advertising and all that stuff, we feel pretty comfortable that we can be cash positive pretty quick because we don't have
you don't have much overhead.
I can run this business
besides
from
insurance.
my freaking bathroom.
Exactly,
you know what I mean? Insurance is a big one. Don't get me wrong. And we don't know what the premiums are going to cost from insurance yet. And it might be $150,000 to $100,000 a year. We don't know.
Yeah.
You'll know
Hopefully
as
it's a
soon as you
lot
find
less.
out. Yeah, hopefully it's a lot
My
less.
shop was only $1,000 for a
Yeah,
year.
we pay rent, like, I mean, but it's different, like,
No, I mean my shop insurance, like
for like
having,
everything?
for customers, $1,000 a year for
For
insurance.
people walking in and everything, too.
Just people walking in, yeah.
Because that's a big thing for us. Like, we pay
Liability
rent
for the
an office
building,
building.
everything.
Really?
You guys have an office space?
Yeah, we do. We have a small office space. It's
I had
nice.
Do it
I
out
have
in the
a-
basement, bro.
Yeah, I think like we did it because like
the way we did this is we talked to our landlord and we have partitioned
we
an office into a smaller office.
Dude, we work.
You
Can you
call
write it
our
off?
basement.
You can write it
Nice.
off?
Oh,
yeah.
dude, we work.
Hell yeah.
We got a deal of deals. Okay,
Okay.
All right.
like
Hey,
the
if you
office,
ever get a deal of deals, fucking take it.
dude, and like it was like a 3-year lease. We're like month to month. Okay, like we work to fucking
No long-term
like,
deal, yeah.
Him and
You know
I
what though? I'm a landlord right now, and if I see someone that's not going to be a headache and is going to pay the bills, whatever you want,
cares,
I
dude?
got you.
And like a lot of
Everyone's going to sit there, you know what I mean? You're not going to make
and like for
Yeah.
like a lot of the time too, like we're on the road, or I'm on the road, you're on the road, like meeting people, getting guys set up. I'll stop at Panera or Starbucks and input. Like right now, we're pulling out of levers. So like if I get a new user or new guy that wants to sign up, like I'll upload his equipment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's not scalable, but like for right now to get it going,
Right.
that's what we're going to have to do.
That's enough.
Yeah, but
You don't need to be scalable right away. You have to have
That's
a
a big
plan. You have to have a plan.
You, have,
to
you
get
always
scalable.
have to have that plan
Right.
that when I want to get, how am I going to get to this point? So when
Exactly.
we were doing we're in a class together. Same with Rohan, who was on the podcast a few weeks ago. We're in an investor class,
Yep.
and that's how I met you.
Yep.
And the one thing I've learned recently, I've never done a financial model. Like I've always like, I don't need that. But
Yeah.
then I realized once I did the financial model, I'm like, okay, this kind of explains how I'm going to make money. So she said, Erica, that I thought she said 2 million when I had a one-on-one with her the other day. She's like, no, I said 20 million. So by year 5, you should be at like $20 million in revenue. Like that's how you can expect a good buyout.
Right.
So
and like
that's a lot of money.
That's a
So
lot of
unless you have a
fucking money.
plan to get to $20 million
Right.
in revenue,
Right.
like you might want
and
to
it's so
And
like,
in the
but
back
yeah,
end,
but
you gotta
figure out
execute
how
that
am I going to
shit.
get
and
that.
like I like that, and it's cool. But like you can talk to like another person that's like another investor, and they'd be like 15 million. Or, like,
it's by investor because
It's
it is
kind of
by
all like
investor.
an idea, but really it's
Yeah.
about the execution.
It is.
Think about it. If you were investing $1 million,
It's up to you
you'd
how much
want,
you're gonna make.
if you were investing $1 million, you'd want to safe bet every time,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's the same thing with any investor. So she says 20 million. Some other person might say 100,000.
Yeah.
Like, which is obviously not, but
You know what it is too. It's like everyone's got their own. Like there's no there's no
path.
book that says
Yeah.
like all right,
you need
yeah.
to do this.
you have to
left turn
all right,
here,
get a
you're
marketing
gonna-
campaign, hire a social media like manager, which we
and that
can
goes
talk about that.
that
But,
goes
like,
back to you have to make your own assumptions, pivot off them.
You got to
and-
make your own decisions
Yeah.
and everything because that like shows investors like all right, these guys
and
aren't
take
just like
everything
by
with
the
a grain
book.
of salt. Everything with a grain of salt.
Just like school,
form your
right?
own opinion.
Just like school,
Yeah.
if you go to school, like they'll teach you everything out of textbook, but like doesn't mean anything if you can't apply it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like we didn't. You know, I was like a C student. I think.
Cool. Right. C's get degrees, baby.
That's what I said all the time.
Me
You know,
too.
like
So where do you guys see yourselves in like 5 years from now? Like you're doing pretty well now. You got some
hopefully
stuff to make
RentMi's taking off. You know, we're getting into different
I
markets.
love the idea though. Honestly, like
Do you plan to go outside of the U.S.?
it's a
Oh,
it's a
absolutely.
thing right now.
But not even that. We want to be. The construction industry is the last to really see this.
It's so true that
change.
modernization
Yeah.
of lifestyle.
Because you have all those old guys.
Old
like
guys.
everyone in the construction
Exactly.
industry
Yeah,
is like
right.
50 or older.
think
They're
about
old
it.
school.
50 years, in 10 years, they'll be retiring.
Yep.
And then who's
Starting
and then
the
we're
new
gonna be
generation.
screwed.
It's all their
yeah, right? No one's going to know how to build anything.
Use
We're-
the Snapchat and the Instagram though, right?
And we
It's
see
their
that
kids.
now. There's a lot of construction companies that are on Instagram. A lot, like it's
Right.
up and coming.
Yeah.
like the idea is there.
Right.
You know, in like the timeline. Like there's been companies. There's a company that several years ago did this idea, and they got bought out by Caterpillar.
Mm-hmm.
But several years ago, they weren't even thinking about this idea, right? So now we're a couple years ahead. People are starting to get more used to it. Like almost like Facebook, right? Facebook wasn't the first social media,
Right.
but they found a way.
R.I.P. to MySpace.
Yeah,
I love you, Tom.
Yeah, Tom has a Facebook
Man,
too,
who's
though.
my
You can
first
add
friend?
him.
Wait,
Who wasn't Tom's friend? You know what I mean? But,
his Facebook-
everyone laughs at Tom, but he got bought out for
His
$500 million.
Facebook still has
Exactly.
the typical white T-shirt photo. Everyone's Facebook is the same
Wait,
photo.
what was Tom's famous line? Wait, no, some kids posted something like, wasn't that someone that got run into the ground by Facebook? Facebook, and then Tom replied back, "Yeah, they bought me out for $500 million while you sit there working your miserable life."
Oh, did they buy him out?
boss.
Dude, $500 million.
They bought him out $500 million?
It was on the
Got
it was on the
That's
chive.
more than
It
I'm
was on
making
the- it
like
was
500 years.
It was one of those quotes. It was one of those quotes on the. You guys know the chive is or no?
Yeah,
It was one of those quotes on the chive, and like I want to like take that, like, put a poster and just like put it somewhere.
Put it right in the studio.
Like, just like,
Boss move,
like while you're just like everyone told you go get a job and like go to college, like all this, and that's what these guys do, and like they are like bitch because they don't have money at the end of their career. You know what I mean? Like this guy Tom goes out there. I'm pretty sure he's like a photographer now. He just travels the world and like.
Why not?
Dude, because you got $500 million in the bank.
fun.
I remember the MySpace model. Like, you could have your own profile, your own music. Yeah, you remember the music?
But
like,
dude, there was Friendster before
I
that.
wish Facebook had that. That was like the hardest transition. Was like not having the personal, like being able to personalize it.
Yeah.
But like the demise of Friendster wasn't policed. See, there's a fine line. Friendster wasn't policed enough.
Right.
So Friendster led to a lot of inappropriate content, which lost a lot of their advertising.
Like Craigslist.
revenue. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, that's why Craig's got no. Like we've discussed, like what if down the road we take off, like would we do ads? I'm like, I mean, it depends on what the financial situation is at that point.
You know,
Where would we
let's
put
say
it? Like
look at
it would be a big topic of discussion, but like we feel that we would be like we let it be where like guys can post and do a lot of stuff, but like we're also making sure that people are doing things right. You know what I mean?
There's a fine line. And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's like, what's the book? Platform Revolution. It's a wonderful,
That's a good book,
wonderful
yeah.
book about, platforms. It's essentially what we are.
Think
We're
we
all
can
these guys
get
are there.
some cash from mentioning these books? Say it again. And the author?
Platform
Yeah, we
Revolution,
set up an
We said
affiliate
one last
link
week.
in the
right?
description.
There was
No,
one
just
last
kidding.
week.
I guarantee you're not going to get
to our 1.7 million users or listeners right now.
Well, one of the topics that they were talking about is
the 60.
policing and finding a fine line between, putting too much policing in and not having enough.
Right.
And that's,
Right.
Yeah.
People want to be
'Cause
free
when
and
there's
do
too
whatever
much-
they want, but then if it crosses the line, they're like,
Yeah.
Well, when there's too much policing, people don't form their own opinions, and they kind of just go with what's normal.
And you gotta put you have to generally put faith in your users, right? Like that they're not going to be like
Right. Assume the good in everybody.
and we
There's always
try
going to be people that take advantage.
always,
There will be.
but like those people will be found, and they'll be we'll pull
They
the post
usually
profiles
and
out.
that's
Ban
where-
their IP. No.
But no, that's where like
Find them.
that's
and
where the
destroy
design
them.
comes in. That's why users and ratings obviously is your first step into doing and policing your site. But
I agree.
the lower your rating is, obviously the lower they go down. But
Yeah,
there's
that's
other ways to do it. Though.
in ratings is a new concept, but it's such a staple.
Sometimes,
what I mean?
though, it's good and bad because, for anyone that has a product and you're on Amazon, they'll probably relate to this. You're going to have more people that want to write a bad review than a good review.
Right.
People
So if
only
someone are
write bad
pissed,
reviews.
they're going to write
It goes
something.
back to the old saying, like if you do one bad job, if you do a bad job, if you do a good job, they'll tell like 5 people. If you do a bad job, tell 5,000.
Right.
Yeah,
people. You know
that's what
I mean?
Tom was saying on the third
100%.
episode.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
he's saying
And it's the truth though. But we found that our rating system too isn't a true 1-to-1, like where it's like, if someone gives me a 1, 5-star, I get a 5-star. If they give me a 0, like it averages, you know what I mean? So
Plus, plus you have the total amount of rentals that they do.
Yeah.
And you can kind of compare, there's only 2 bad reviews and they've
And
done 100 rentals or something. You know what I mean?
Right. It's like,
You
how
can kind of,
it's weighted a
reasonable
little bit.
deduction there and realize that they've done a lot of rentals, without issue. So, but anyway, to get back to where we see ourselves in 5 years.
Yeah, 5 years.
Now that we've
That's
jumped-
what I'm saying.
There
We
we go.
always do that. I love doing it.
Bring it back.
but-
Bring it back.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
Honestly,
Bring it
though,
back.
there's so many tentacles, and my brother and I have talked about this. There's so many tentacles that we can
spin
kind of
off
branch
to.
off
And we've-
onto, and
Right.
Yeah,
really,
always.
really segment ourselves into the market.
There's a lot of things that
Pick
we can
one
do
and
with
then
this.
You can do it
Yeah.
later.
And honestly,
once you have the brand behind you too, it's
we want to go as big as we can. We always said we're not going to just try to be like the homegrown,
Right.
know.
Hell no. Work
Yeah,
hard,
no.
play hard, go
Yeah,
the whole one.
exactly.
You don't want to be the mom and pop. You
No.
want to be, the next.
So that's our
And you
5
guys have a concept for that. Obviously,
yeah.
it's,
I love it
it's a
because
global idea.
honestly, I could see myself using it because.
Absolutely. Hell yeah.
So actually, we're almost running out of time. But right now, I told you about how I want to get a Bobcat, right? So how do you even say that I'm someone that you would rent to? Like, is there an age limit? Is there something that I have to, like,
right now,
ask? What about someone that needs a CDL to drive it?
Well,
like, if it's a huge
right
dump
now
truck?
it's business to business. So like you would put
it's not resident.
You put
Okay.
you put a tax number in, and that's due to insurance.
Right.
Okay.
And to keep the integrity
But-
of the
so
site.
I could use my own
Right.
business, though, technically, if I wanted to.
You could.
Absolutely,
but,
right.
But like you know, to be
And the reason we do that is, again, to go
To
back to that.
feed
we don't
out some of
want-
the people that you don't want
You don't
on the site.
13-year-old
Because
kid.
not to
that's a
mention
different
like
concept.
think about it too. Like at the end of the day, you have the right to refuse any rental.
Right.
Like in our button says, oh, so and so's requested to rent this, accept or deny. You don't feel comfortable.
Yeah.
You could I know Airbnb. If you deny, they're frown about it. And granted, like it's not something you want to see.
I've
happen.
been on some bad Airbnbs.
Dude, I was on
My friend groups and I have been banned from some Airbnbs. So
It's so
Well,
it's such an
I
interesting
just-
concept.
I had bad
Yeah.
experiences with Airbnb.
Yeah, I've done a lot of Airbnb and some good ones, some really bad ones.
I rented at a Oscar and I, my partner, when we went down to Tampa to pitch our thing for our 3D printing company. We rented out a sailboat. And we thought this was going to be the coolest thing ever.
It sounds amazing.
On a sailboat. It was cool because we're actually asleep.
I mean,
but
tell me-
it was a boat from the 80s. So all the
Probably
pipes
rocky.
were, well, it was good, but all the pipes, like the septic pipes, were old and cracked. So you had the smell of sewage in the boat. It was just...
that wasn't
failed to mention.
in the description.
It was mentioned. It was not in the description.
What did
so-
they get for a rating? Probably
It was cheap. It was the cheapest one.
Cheapest sell.
You get what you pay for.
You get what you pay
But
for,
It made a great story,
Yeah.
and we'll never do that
I
again.
think that's like Airbnb's drive too. Like people just remember that one time we stayed at
In this treehouse.
Yeah.
in
Right.
the treehouse
Yeah.
and
And we
fucking
could take a
Indonesia.
piss in the
It's better than a
sink or
hotel that you
whatever.
see everywhere around the world.
And
You
so,
gotta
the thing that made hotels so popular is also the thing that people despise about them now, right? Like you go to a hotel like you go to a Best Western in Buffalo, it's the same thing in
You're going to get a coffee maker?
it's the same thing
Bottle of water
everywhere.
that costs $5.
But people don't want the same sometimes. Like people want a different experience. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like sometimes you want to have that. Holy shit! I remember seeing one Airbnb. It was like an airplane fuselage in a tree. I'm like, what the fuck is this shit? Like,
Yeah,
how
that
cool
would make me
that
do
be?
it. I'd be like,
yeah, whatever. Let's
I don't
do it.
even want to go to that place, but you know what? Now that I'm thinking
Unique.
about it,
You know what
I want to
mean?
stay in there.
That's cool. You know.
Boise, Idaho. We're going to
Yeah.
go anyway.
Yeah. There's nothing else around.
So I think before we close right now, John owes an apology for last week. So you guys don't know, but if you listened 2 weeks ago, John
Messed up,
said,
guys.
John
How
said,
many beers was it, Jeff?
no, so we had a
fucking green smoothie thing.
podcast
Hi.
and we had a couple beers and John goes, next week, quote it, we're going to have green smoothies. So John did
We
make
made
the green smoothies
we
last
left
week.
them in the fridge.
Oh,
But John
What is in
didn't
these
follow
green-
the directions and
was
just
not
did it with
quality.
all the skin on the
It was
fruits and stuff.
chunky.
It was
For
chunky.
the viewers, it did taste good.
No, I had it the next day. It was amazing. It tasted like
It was just a little
applesauce.
chunky. There was skin in it.
I'd give
If
a
it
shot.
was
Hey,
if it was frozen
had
fruit, it
worse.
would have been bad. But we owe an apology because we didn't follow through with our
Sorry,
promise
guys.
and have green smoothies. But we didn't drink it all, so it's a
average,
win-win. We got you, you got us. So
I realized it afterwards, and I was like, "Damn, I forgot the green smoothies. They're still in the fridge."
It's funny.
I would have took down the chunks for the viewers. I love you guys.
and then I was half asleep.
And Brian was still half asleep.
Well, I
Got a
had.
text the next day saying smoothies were good.
Yeah, the smoothies were good. I said,
were
"What's the
good?
recipe? This was really good." Yeah, they were really good. It must have had green apple in it, spinach.
Hell yeah.
It did.
A few
A1.
chunks.
Yeah, no, it was good though. It was
NBD.
really
There we
good.
go.
Yeah.
I had to force it down because it was a lot, but I ate all of it because it was really good. But
Thanks, nutrition, for that recipe. I wish
yeah.
I followed the directions 100.
I was half asleep though last week because I showed you guys when you walked in. I'm trying to make
saw
a
it.
bottle prototype for the Flex Water. Now it's blended water, disposable shaker bottle, and I've been trying to blow it up. Last week I had a problem. I couldn't get it to go. I was frustrated. I have a mold made.
Because like 2
This
hours
week,
of sleep.
yeah, 2 hours of sleep. So I was half asleep. I was like, I wanted to do the podcast obviously, but I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't in the right mindset. So I apologize for last week. But
Still a
hopefully,
good episode, though.
this
you
week
made
was a
up for
lot
it this
better.
week. Yeah, I think this
was a
week
good
was
one.
good.
This is a good podcast.
Yeah, man. Anytime you guys want us to come back, though, it's a blast, man.
So we wanted to follow us with people that that
Right.
came on maybe like 6 months to a year later and
Yeah,
find
yeah.
out the growth and talk about the
absolutely.
growth
We'll do a
because
bonfire story, right?
Yeah, that's
bonfire,
the bonfire.
bonfire version. We'll set up a fire right in the
Cigars,
middle.
what do we
We'll
need?
have some, like if you go to the hibachi steakhouse, sometimes they have like a little what's it called, the poo poo platter. They have a little thing that you can
Whatever
grill
you
your
want
own
to bring.
stuff.
Whatever you want to bring,
Do
we'll
it.
be here, okay?
We'll have food. We'll have beer. We'll be good to go. So thanks for tuning in, guys.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it,
Thanks for
man.
coming on.
Thank
You'll
you.
watch us all in 6 months to a year.
All right.
eating some hibachi and some
Absolutely.
drinking some beers.
Check us out every
John
Wednesday.
will quote it. Yeah, catch us every Wednesday. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Money stacking up, talking trash, better back it up. I'ma make my money while they laugh at us.